In this episode, I'll show you some options for setting up your light meter.
Adorama TV presents Exploring Photography with Mark Wallace, where you will learn innovative techniques on shooting a wide range of photography. Here's your host, Mark Wallace.
Hi everybody, welcome to Adorama TV. I'm Mark Wallace. Well, I'm here today with Casey, and we are going to show you how to set up your light meter, specifically the Sekonic L-358. And the reason for that is I do a lot of lighting workshops, and a lot of people own this light meter. It's probably one of the most popular light meters out there today, and I get the same question over and over. And that is, why doesn't my light meter match my camera? Specifically, people are trying to set their sync speed maybe to 1/60 or 200th of a second, and the light meter doesn't allow them to do that. It goes from 250 to 125, and it can't go to 200 or 1/60th of a second. And sometimes you'll get these aperture values that don't really make sense. It'll be maybe 8 with a 7/10 of a stop, and it's hard to figure out what that correlates to with a real aperture value. And the reason all this stuff is happening is because when you get an L-358 or other light meter for that matter, you need to make sure that your light meter matches your camera and specifically the stops that it's using. So a lot of light meters, including this one, by default will come out of the box metering at full or half stops, but most cameras are going to be metering and using third stop increments. So you can set your meter to either be full stop, half stop, or third stop increments to match the camera that you have. Now, if you don't know what stops are, make sure you watch episode 24 of Digital Photography One-on-One. We talk all about stops. And if you're new to using a light meter, episode 27 is all about using a light meter. We're not going to show you how to use a light meter and meter light today, but you can always watch that episode. Again, episode 27 of Digital Photography One-on-One. Well, let's talk about first why it's important to have your meter match your camera, and then I'm going to show you a really easy way to make sure that your light meter is set up correctly. Now, to do that, what we're going to do is first take a meter reading. I'm going to shoot. I've got my camera tethered to my laptop, and I'll show you how things can shift if you have things out of whack. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to take a meter reading. So Casey's going to stand. We've already marked this out. She's all set up, and I'm going to take my meter reading here, and that meter's at 8 with 7/10. So it says 8.0 and 7/10 of a stop. Now, if you're not familiar with tenths of a stop, that might not make any sense, and you can make the mistake of setting your camera to an aperture value of 8, which is wrong because it actually needs to be 2/3 of a stop higher than that, which is 10. So that can be really confusing. This doesn't say 10, it says 8.07. So let's walk through that, and I'll show you exactly what we're talking about. So I'm going to set my camera to the incorrect setting, which is an aperture value of 8. So I'm going to look through here. I'm setting this to 8, and then I'll have you, Casey, hold that right up to your chin. So we have this calibration target so we can really clearly see what's going on. So I'll take a picture here, and that is at f8. And then I'm going to shoot another picture at f10, which is the correct setting. And so we'll do that again. So I'm shooting at f10. There we go. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to look on my my Lightroom here, and I've tethered this. So I'm going to hide the little tether bar there, and we're going to look at what the histogram tells us. So this is the first shot we took, and this is at f8, and you can see where the midtones are right there. So I'm going to put my cursor there and keep it. We're going to zoom in really tight on this histogram. I'm going to go to the next picture, which is at f10. And you can see how those midtones jump dramatically. And so you can see that the exposure from the first shot to the second shot really are totally different. Now, if you don't know about histograms, we've done an episode on histograms. It's Digital Photography One-on-One, episode 33, and that will help you understand what I just showed you. But that's a technical exercise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little calibration target here, and we're going to get rid of it, and we're going to shoot some real pictures. And specifically what I want to show you is how the skin detail changes on Casey's face if the exposure isn't correct. So once again, I'm going to zoom in really tight and get a really nice headshot here. And the first one I'm going to shoot is going to be at f8, which is the incorrect setting. Then I'll shoot one more at f10, which is the correct setting. And now once we have those, let's take a look on our laptop. So this first shot here, this is at f10, and when I zoom in on at f8, when I zoom in on that, you can see that right underneath Casey's eye, it's just sort of blown out. The highlights are overexposed. If I go to the next photo, and that's zoomed in the same way, you can see we have a lot more detail in her cheek. So before, overexposed, correctly exposed, now we have the details, the freckles, the things that we want. And so it's really important to make sure that your meter is displaying the correct values. And this does display the correct value, but if you don't know how to do the math, it's really difficult to get where you need to be. So the solution to all this, to really easily meter and get this exactly right the first time, is to open up the back of your light meter. Now, in the back of a Sekonic L-358, there are a bunch of little dip switches. Now, we're only going to be talking about the last two. So there's 4 total. We don't care about the first 2 in this episode. We're only going to talk about the last 2. So dip switch number 3 is the direct dip switch. And what that means is when it's off, then your meter is metering in full stops. And the 4th switch doesn't do anything. So if the 3rd one is down, that just means that you're in full stops, and that's it. If you turn it on, so if we turn on the 3rd switch, that's now on. Then the 4th switch is turned on, and you can select if you want that to meter in half steps or third steps. So if the 4th switch is down, you're metering in half steps. If it's on, you're metering in third steps. So I'm going to turn on the 4th one. So switch 3 is on, switch 4 is on, and that sets this to third stop increments. So if you get a new L358, my suggestion is turn the first 2 switches off, the second 2 switches on, and you're good to go. Now, when I turn this around, it clearly shows F10 as the correct aperture value because now it's working in third stop increments, and I don't have to do any math to figure out how many third stops that 10th of an increment is. And now every single time I meter, it's going to be spot on, and everything's going to work. In fact, I'll do that again. I'll just come over here. I'll take a meter reading. Sure enough, F10 is what it says. And then the other thing that you can see is when I move my shutter speed, instead of going from 250 down to 125, which is a full stop, now when I move this, it goes from 250 to 200 down to 160. And so now I can set my sync speed correctly for the camera that I'm using if I'm using third stop increments. Now, obviously, if you have a camera that works in half stop increments, then set your meter to half stop increments. And if you're shooting in full stop increments, well, set it to full stop increments. But the choice is yours, and you should make sure that your meter matches your camera so you can get quick and accurate measurements every single time. Now, one of the things that we talked about is sync speed. If you're not familiar with sync speed, make sure that you check out episode 17 of Digital Photography 1-on-1, and we talk all about what sync speed is and why it's really important to set everything accurately. Well, there you have it, setting up a Sekonic L-358 to get accurate measurements and to make sure your exposure is spot on. Thanks again for joining us. Thanks, Casey, for being here. It was a lot of fun. Remember, if you have a question about photography or lighting or any kind of digital photography stuff, you can send that to me at askmark@adorama.com. We might just use it on an upcoming episode. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you again next week. Do we have any outtakes? I said, can you do this? She goes.
Usually that's like not hard, but I can't figure it out today.
You can't do that.
Sometimes. I can't control my face today.
I have that most days. I can't control my face. All right.
Adorama TV is brought to you by Adorama, your best source for the equipment and knowledge you need. For all the latest photography, video, and computer gear, visit Adorama.com. Place your order by 7 p.m. and it ships the same day. Plus, the next time you're in New York City, be sure to visit our store located on 18th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue. Check out the Adorama Rental Company for professional cameras, lighting, computers, and more. We'll help you make the best selection to match your needs while giving you the knowledge to achieve the best outcome from your rental. Adorama is your complete solution for equipment, printing, training, and more. Adorama, more than a camera store.